welcome to All Things Irish and Rock and Roll. We have Mr. Dave
McHugh himself.
Dave McHugh himself here. The blues, the whole blues and nothing but the blues in the studio today, as Bruce Shields would say. Anyway, welcome, Dave. Dave, I'm going to ask you, basically, what made you get into the music business?
First of all, thanks, Brendan, for having me. That's the first and most important thing.
Yeah.
Thanks very much for all the great work that you're doing for Irish musicians, and that's very, very important.
Oh, thank you.
It's very important. I suppose I grew up in a house. I grew up with me grandparents and my mother in 58 Carnlough Road, Cabra West, and they were all into the old singles and LPs and that. My granddad played trombone with St James's brass band. I took it up, but not very successfully, I might add. And so there was always kind of music there, but I think in them days, within working class families, there was always something, there was always some kind of musical thing that was there. And then I picked up, the old singles were knocking around, the 45 singles. And I remember on the B-side of Candy Store on the corner, Dickie Rock.
He was from Cabra as well, wasn't he?
He was, yeah, from Dingle Road, where my old pal Lord Rest Alan Thunder was from. But we'll come to him whenever you're ready. But the B-side was 40 Flight Rock, I think it was called, and Clem Quinn was a guitarist, and he played the solo. I remember hearing that solo and saying, Jesus, and these are fellas from Cabra. And so it was that kind of thing where I got my first influence from a root sort of thing. In other words, that like some people, I know yourself, you're a very talented builder and you work in that line, and a musician as well, a very talented musician, and that you could kind of build your way up. You'd see fellas, in working class jobs or whatever, but that when I saw that and heard that fellas could be successful in music, coming from working class areas and filling it and writing down
some of the
and
best.
all that.
Some of the best.
Yeah. So that's what that kind of turned me on. But then of course Rory Gallagher was the turning point.
Rory, I met Rory a few times myself back in the day. You know, like I used to work with Eddie Bell. Back in the it would have been the kind of late 70s, and of course I was over in London with Eric, and Rory was playing in the Marquee, and we went the same. And I met his first time really I met him. You know, what an incredible guy, incredible human being.
Rory was himself.
Yeah, it was just.
You know, and it's a very stupid thing to say, but in the like that, somebody is themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, it should be a very obvious thing, Brendan, shouldn't it?
Should it?
That a person is themselves.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if I say to you, it's raining out now, and you say, yeah, it's raining now, I say, geez, an awful little drizzle, whatever, and you chat, and I know that's a very Irish thing, a very Dublin thing.
You come out here every day, it's raining.
I mean, I come over on the dart there, you know, and I was talking to him, I say, geez, an little drizzly day, whatever, but the blues, and for me, and then when I found the blues through Rory Gallagher, is that it is every day.
Yeah.
By its very nature should be every day. And it doesn't mean that it has to be depressing. It doesn't mean that it has to be...
no, there's happy blues.
There's happy blues. But there's everything in it.
Of course.
There's life in it. I read a quote there recently, and I hope let's get it right now, Brendan. Rory says, in me heart it's the blues, in me head it's folk, and on stage it's rock. You know, so that kind of symbolises that whole sort of you know, on one hand he was a very gentleman, of course, and he had this folk instinct with the acoustic set. Pat Kilty, Lord rest him, great Dublin blues guitarist.
Serious.
Pat, I remember Pat saying to me years ago in Slattery's Cambridge, he said that Rory Gallagher was the closest that you'd get to the Delta blues on acoustic guitar, and he was the closest. And then when he go on stage, boy, Jesus, would he light it up?
Oh, amazing, yeah, incredible performer, incredible guitar player. But most of all, as you said, he's a beautiful human being. He was Beautiful.
That's it. Like, you know, and I heard so many different stories. John Earle, great saxophone players, you know, poor old John Earle. John, I knew him well, played with him several occasions. John Earle, Dancing in the Moonlight, that's him. On the solo, that's him. Playing with Rory and the Blockheads, and playing also with the Graham Parker band, and lived in London for years. Around the same time you've been living in London, he was living there. And poor old John, he was offered like a few quid. Would he take a few bob to keep himself going, or would he take a royalty? I forget exactly what song it was, but he was being thrown out of the flat at the time. You know, all musicians are, you know, it's a hand to mouth sort of thing.
Yeah.
And he took the on the spot grant, took the money, paid the rent, and then that was it. But then every time we heard the song, I forget what song it was, it's him playing, but he's getting no royalty.
Yeah.
He's out in the street. Now, bring it back to Rory Gallagher. He's in London, Rory was in London, spent a lot of time in London, as indeed yourself, and a lot of Irish, and the Irish connection with London is huge. And was a time of fresh evidence. So it was around 1990 is when that came out, so around late 80s. And they said, oh, I want you, Rory, so I want you to, I'd love you to, you know, play on The Loop is the name of the tune, you know. And John said, well, John, poor old Spanner that worked up and did the door up in JJ's.
Yeah.
He christened him Gentleman John, the Earl of Saxophony. And so John says, I kind of quite love the lovely moustache, you know. Says, I love the idea. This is great, but Rory, I really don't know much of your music from before, you know. Following day, around the John Earle's flat, was delivered all the back catalogue of Rory. And it wasn't done with a big ceremony nor a whatever. And that's just the way he rolled. And as John Earle said it to me, he says, about The Loop, which is a tricky enough guitar song to play, you know. He said, Rory said, it's a little ditty that fell into me hands.
Yeah.
And John says a little ditty is right, because they had to have a good blow to try to get the thing down, because it was so within 3 minutes, you know. And that's the way Rory was. That's the way he rolled. And that's what I love about all those fellas and yourself and all these Irish musicians. We just roll with it.
Yeah.
You know?
Of course, yeah. It's kind of a respect thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Deep down, it really is, you know, because it's like we always say, Jay, he's fucking great.
Yeah.
But he's brilliant, you know. And he's saying, Jay, he's brilliant.
Yeah.
About you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's always that, you know. And it's that respect, isn't it?
It is, and you kind of get nervous, and then and then you don't
think you're great.
I mean, Brendan, even to be honest with you now, I'm nervous now chatting to you, because I know that the camera's on, right?
Yeah.
And if I was chatting to you sitting in the car a few minutes ago, I wouldn't have been, you know, and it's
self-conscious.
It's self-conscious.
Yeah.
And I think that's the, you know, was it Ronnie Drew said about Rory Gallagher? He had, now I don't mess this quote up either, because this is a very good one. He had the unassuming manner of the great and not the overbearing manner of the mediocre.
Right, okay.
So he had the unassuming manner of the great and not the overbearing manner of the mediocre.
Yeah.
So in other words, those that try to pick up one of them guitars and try to show off to you, they're the fellas to watch out for. But the fella who will say, I know I'm all right, you're grand.
Yeah.
And it's self-effacing, isn't that? That's the term.
I'm not into pressure, you know.
Yeah.
You know, it's. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
No, but that's what I'm saying is, Brendan, that it's sort of that kind of thing where, and I think every Irish musician, anyone that I've ever met that was of like and geez, I met most of them.
Yeah.
Brian Downey, Paul Moore, Pat Kilty, Pat Fagel, Joe Staunton, Alan Thunder, naming names. They were all very, you know, grand. In fact, the first thing that some of them would say to you is, what's in it?
Yeah.
John Querney as well. Don't be forgetting any names. And I don't mean that in a bad way. They might need to. It's hands and mouth.
You know, yeah.
So what's in it? What's in the gig?
That's all they ever done. You know what I mean? Like Pat Farrell, like one of my best friends ever. The thing about Pat Farrell was, like, everybody was his best friend.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the charisma the guy had, you know.
Yeah.
Fantastic guy, and like, but he was like so humble.
Pat was just
amazing. I miss him so much, you know.
Pat was just. I loved Pat. I wrote a poem about Pat. And just when I saw him there, I was there with John Querney, and when I saw him, sitting there inside in the funeral home down in Fairview, you know, I just saw him. He looked perfect, lying back, and the hands like this. And I was thinking to myself, there's silence. Them hands, you know, played the blues.
Oh, I'm good at this too.
and now himself and John Querney would be a pair of what my grandmother, Lord rest her, would have called a pair of sneers. Yeah. You know, they'd have their crack, like, you know.
Two of them, yeah.
I am on a hide or what? You say you're wide or what? You know.
Yeah.
And Pat, jeez, I remember, like, you know, going countless times, going down to Slattery's, and just a smile. He had a great smile, you know.
Yeah.
And as I say about Pat, he was everyone's friend.
Everyone.
He was, because he wasn't. There was no bullshit about him.
No.
And I don't know anyone, Brendan, that had a bad word to say about him.
No.
Now, there's a few people in the music business, as you know yourself, that could be, and usually on the clerical end of things.
Yeah.
I'll be diplomatic about that. That there might be bad words to be said. But Pat, no way. No way. And what a player. And do you know what? And him, Joe Staunton and Pat Kilty, I used to watch them all, and what I used to watch and listen for. In fact, there was one Sunday afternoon, I sat downstairs in Slattery's. They were playing upstairs, and Noel Bridgeman on drums, and I think Paul, what was it from Ballyer, Paul, bass player.
Paul Moore.
Not Paul Moore. Paul, Jesus, can't think of his surname. It'll come back to me. On bass, and I sat downstairs, and Fadler says to me, he says, "Why didn't you come up?" And I said, "Because I wanted to hear the sound coming down."
Yeah.
Because there was Slattery's in them days. Remember, they throw the sawdust on it was the holy hour. It was after the holy hour, on a Sunday afternoon, and I wanted to hear the sound coming down. I was hear how he got the vibrato.
Yeah.
You know, and the timbre in the guitar, as you know. And years ago, remember, I didn't have an amplifier. I got an electric guitar before I got an amplifier. You stick it up to another piece of timber, and you get a. You know yourself as a builder that you get
they push sound back on.
Yeah. Because the timber
resonates.
Resonates exactly, and I said that's. I wanted to hear your resonation because I didn't want to see it. I wanted to listen.
Yeah.
And he says to me, "Jesus says that's that's me. That's like listen to the record." But that's why I was used to like listening.
Yeah.
I said I wanted to listen. I didn't want to look at you.
Yeah.
No disrespect, you Fadler.
Yeah.
You're a good-looking man and all the rest.
But
I wanted to listen.
He was exceptional. He was a player, wasn't he? Really.
He was like, and so humble. Could have went to any band he wanted. Or look from. I always liked the way he was also. He held himself. I always held myself a bit scruffy with the chest coat, and you know. But he was. Do you know what I mean? Though he was never.
No.
He was never scruffy.
I know he was scruffy. You hadn't even scrubbed to be a blues player, is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that he held himself up the right.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
That he always held himself.
He had a bit of he had that thing about him.
Well torn
down.
out.
You know, a bit suave.
Well torn out.
Yeah.
You know, and the other fellas, I consider myself scruffy, you know, but Pat would, and it didn't impinge upon, like, don't get me wrong, it was nothing about, like, it was, like, he was trying to do an artificial, image of himself.
True blue.
It was just himself.
That was it.
But he still liked to just just had the little bit with the so he'd be wearing a denim jacket and he'd be wearing a suit jacket. You know what I mean? And a short.
He had a bit of style.
Well, he was style, You know. But Jesus, so, like, he was some player and he could turn. And I love it. Saying to John Kearney there a while back, I loved the way he had a subtle use of the effects and the way he used to do that.
He had that
with the volume and just playing, especially with a minor blues, you know.
Yeah, he had a lovely ski.
But I love the John Mayall stuff they do, you know. Don't you knock on my door, baby.
Yeah.
Cause I'm not at home. And you know, lovely mind. Don't you knock on my door, and clear minor sounds. But then when you go into the solo, he'd bang it up, like, you know, and I love that as well because I never went near pedals. I'm not mad for them. And so I just used the control, the volume. You know yourself, And further that you say that, geez, that was deadly, and his guitar was deadly as well, you know. And he used to wear it low down, you know. And I remember getting up and he says, "Are you coming up and do a song?" And I said, "Oh Jesus." No, so come on. And myself, John Kearney and Noel Bridgeman, Lord rest him.
Noel was another.
Yeah, Noel. If you want to change onto Noel now,
we'll talk about Noel
in a minute. But I remember going up and saying, and Pat Fredder just giving me his guitar, and I said, "Jesus, thanks. Are you sure?" Because there's other guitar players that'd be kind of a bit precious about it, you know, in case. I won't name him, but I remember there's one fella in particular, he used to say, if you're going up for a blow, you say, well, take your belt off, in case you scratch the back of it. Right, I can understand that if it's a collector's item or whatever. But Pat just said, Jago, you might need to, and I went up and had a blow and it was fucking deadly, you know. With Pat and, with John and Noel, but Noel was brilliant.
Before we go on to Noel, let's talk about Pat Kilty. He was another phenomenal Dublin blues player. Pat, that I had the pleasure of maybe jamming with him a few times, you know.
Pat Kilty was, if there had been, or if blues was a mainstream genre, let me put it that way, Pat Kilty and Pat Fredder together, you're talking, for want of a better description, you're ABBA-esque, if that makes sense. Do you know what I'm saying?
I can imagine.
Like the two of them had unique styles, and the two of them played together. And Pat, I remember meeting Pat, Lord rest him, first through Alan Thunder.
This Pat Kilty we're talking
Pat Kilty, Pat Kilty, sorry, I beg your pardon, sorry Brendan. I remember meeting Pat Kilty first through Alan Thunder, and Pat Kilty, he did his stint. He was in with Joe Cuddy in the sort of, not the show, but the show bands are kind of
more of a cabaret thing. He was
cabaret, exactly. And Alan Thunder was there playing drums with, and then he met Pat. And Pat took a heart attack very early in his early 30s. But he was some player, and he had a Gibson 335 that he was kind of, I don't know, I never got to the full story of it, but Tony said he had it under his bed in the case, but he never really played it. He was more of a strap man. But Pat was the man now. If Pat Fredder would be more kind of filling, but Pat Kilty was more bringing it back to a sort of a, if you've got two blues guitar players playing in the same band, one will go heavier, one will go lighter. Pat Kilty, to me, was the fella that was going lighter.
Yeah.
And he was listening to it more. And this is not to take away from Pat Fardell.
No.
He had the kind of the B.B. King philosophy of one note is more than three or four.
Yeah.
You know?
Keep it simple, Pat.
And I remember the time when the early late 80s, early 90s when John Earle released, and that was it Wake Up Call, I think it was, and the lads, the business were they picked a few songs off that. And Joe O'Keefe on vocals,
fabulous.
Big Joe. And
Maydell, great voice.
Maydell, and Pat used to always kind of take the.
Was that blues up front?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blues up front. Sorry, I said the business. Sorry, beg your pardon. Sorry, because they kind of morphed in and out. Yeah, blues up front, and Pat Courtney, I think. Lord rest him again as well, was on bass. That was Sunday afternoon Slattery's, and they did a lot of Maydell. That was the great tune, and but Pat Kilty was unassuming. Pat Fardell was not unassuming. But he had a bit more kind of. Pat was a bit shyer. Pat Kilty was a bit shyer.
Yeah.
And I remember Alan Thunder, Lord rest him, saying that about Pat Kilty, that he was going to look like Woody Allen. He had that sort of Woody Allen thing. And I remember my granddad, Lord rest him, and he had a wristwatch, which I don't bother wearing anymore. But he had a wristwatch, and I tried to get it cleaned up. I was down at Capel Street one day, one of the shops, a couple of jewellers down there, and I bumped into Pat Kilty outside of Slattery's. They were putting the gear in for a gig, and I was wearing the watch. There was no leather strap in it. I said, "Oh, show us, what's your timepiece? Show us what it's like." So I just said, there you go, and he looked at it and studied it. Pat Kilty had that kind of professor thing about him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the glasses.
He had that sort of thing about him. That it was more. Pat Fardell, of course, everyone best friend. That's grand. Pat Kilty just a little bit more sort of to himself.
Yeah. He was very laid back, very quiet. He was a quiet guy, really.
He was a gentleman in an absolute sense.
Without a doubt.
And he wouldn't slag you.
No.
Like, and I never heard him say. I've often heard blue jokes and the whole that. From we've all done that, but you wouldn't hear that out of him.
No, not at all.
There wouldn't be that in him.
There was never any malice or anything like that. No.
And there wouldn't be, from a fella from Ballyfermot, from Cabra, right, grand, working class places. He didn't have. Again, I think Alan Thunder remembers saying that he was very effeminate. That was the word. No, not to take away from the man's character, but he was just,
he's very gentle.
Gentle. That's probably a better word, actually. Yeah.
He was very gentle.
Very gentle, and he just. But by Jay-Z, he had some touch on the guitar, and again, I remember another gig I did the same thing. Sometimes I used to just hang around the old venue, the Slattery's, Fox and Pheasant, the Grattan, the Wig and Pen, all around Capel Street, and just. If I didn't have the few bob to pay in, because I'd never assumed that your name would be on the door. Yeah. And a fiver in them days was 2 points,
Yeah.
And sometimes you just stand outside and you listen.
Yeah.
And then it's nearly as good, because what you're doing is you're listening. You're getting into your head rather than watching the way they are on stage,
I'm watching the way saying, I'd love to be doing that.
Yeah, exactly. And you're trying to get in, you're trying to get a lick. And you know what? I'm not telling you a word of a lie. I could tell the difference between Pat Fardell and Pat Kilty.
Of course, they still go. Like this is the great thing about the blues, which I've always noticed over the years is that every blues player has his own style.
Yeah.
And you know who's who. If you get really familiar with the blues, you know who's playing. You know exactly that.
Yeah. They have a stamp on it.
Everyone has their own style. You've got your own style.
And you have as well.
Yeah.
And
it's like a fingerprint.
if you bring it back, and you're a very skilled and talented builder, you have your style.
Yeah, it's
right?
It's just
and
a
it's the same thing.
Everyone has their own makeup.
Everyone has their own makeup. And whoever starts to copy you can see a copy a mile off.
Yeah.
And you can see originality a mile off.
Yeah.
And it is interesting though with the blues that if people's ears aren't tuned into it, that they will think that it all sounds the same. Until you listen to it. It's a bit like saying that every Dublin person sounds the same, every Asian person looks the same, every African person looks the same, until you get to know it.
Yeah.
And then you realise
there's a lot to it.
That there's a lot more than that. And everybody has their own way
I mean,
of approaching it.
Like B.B. King, and as an example of what he plays. He doesn't play that much. But
doesn't need it.
Does he what? Does he express?
He doesn't need it.
Well, he doesn't need it.
He doesn't need it.
That thrill that he plays. He just plays.
It's a note. I'm not saying B.B. King can do in one note. No, they did that. You remember that the U2, the When Love Comes to Town.
That's right.
Rattle and Hum.
That's right.
And no, I don't know if it's apocryphal or not. I don't think I've ever actually seen it, but the story goes that the Edge is tuning up and playing a few chords and whatever, and B.B. King said to me, "You stick to them things, man. I don't know those things." Chords, in other words, you know. Now it's a good story, but I don't know if it's true or not. But you know, I'm sure the Edge now was not too shabby either. But just that little tone, the little sort of thing that galvanizes it, and it's not a gimmick. Like Albert King, Freddie King, the Three Kings, and Joe Staunton.
Another great.
Lord rest him.
We're going to come to him.
Don't forget Joe. Go on, sorry, go on. This is your interview, not mine.
No. That's exactly what we're talking about. But from B.B. King, let's go back to Joe Staunton then.
Yeah.
Like Joe was like another great friend of ours. And like I've known John most of my life, but I've played with many a gig with him. But what a great character, you know. Hot and cold, you know. But John, like when he got hot, he was hot.
I love Joe.
And he was great.
Babe. When that film Babe came out, going Babe. No, Joe was just Joe and the most unique character, and I remember, you know, he was walking down the Sound and Light and Story, you know.
That's right,
And Liam Quigley, And like that, hot and cold, Monday morning, maybe, when I say Monday morning, 12 o'clock, 12:30, you say, be having a ramble down in Cabra, waiting on the waiting day. Sometimes I used to go in and pawn something, whatever, down the old palm for the price of a few points until I got me labour on the Wednesday. But there'd be John, you'd know a mile off if he was all right or not all right. And and the cigarette would be there. No, I'm busy. And then it'd be something like that. And it was before the internet or whatever, and the phone would be ringing. And there'd be fellas, the Sound and Light and Store, for viewers that don't know, it was a lovely little place down South Strand Street. Was that the name of it?
Yeah, it was Strand Street, wasn't it?
Strand Street, just parallel to the River Liffey.
Yeah.
But they dealt with all kinds of amplifiers and sound systems and whatever. So if you had local elections coming up or whatever, they used to, you remember the oaks that they used to put on the top of cars, and they'd go around. Vote Brendan Finglas #1, the big fog carton thing. Liam Quigley had a whole pile of them out the back, you know.
Vote Brendan Finglas for
the
blues party.
For the blues party. Vote Finglas #1, and driving all around. But they had he had a whole pile of them. So any election, they were all hired. They were all hired out, like, you know. Yeah. And then he had amps and PAs. Anybody need that, whatever. And there was a couple of guitars for sale. In fact, I bought a Crafter acoustic there years ago. But Joe, you know if Joe was informed or not, but then later in the evening, boy Jesus, I remember seeing him doing a gig down in Slattery's at Cable Street. Pat Cannon was on bass with him. I don't know who the drummer was. Can't remember now. I remember Pat Cannon though being on bass. And boy Jesus, he blew the place out, and he was doing the Freddie King stuff and the whole lot.
The stumble and all that was his thing, wasn't it?
Stumble.
Yeah.
And he had, and important for viewers now to visualise this, he was left-handed, so he's playing like that, whereas the right-handed is playing like this. And there's a guitar there in the background, so you can see how it goes. The neck of the guitar. So his guitar, which is a beautiful guitar.
Was it 57 or 58? 57 Les Paul.
Yeah, I think 57 Les Paul.
Yeah.
Original. And he had so it was so strung to a left hand side. So everything's upside down. Buttons, knobs, the whole controls, everything. So he's like this, but when he gets up to, he had to put his hand over
to where the money was.
To where the money was. Or who was it though? I said, I know, funny enough, Brendan, though, I don't know who it was. I was reading a quote the other day. One of the famous country musicians says, there's no money past the 12th fret. So that mightn't be. But how Joe Staunton got up to that, I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
He was able...
this way, we'll be that way,
He was able to get up to it. And he used to do some great acoustic gigs as well, over in Fitzsimon's.
Yeah.
And I'd see him there down the Fox and Pheasant, whatever. And very, very uncharitably, I won't mention the name of the person, but said that Joe Staunton's on a tour of Cable Street again. So, but he's at their crossing the Liffey now, and he's. But Joe was a fine player. And
he played the people he played with though as well.
Oh, absolutely! The original Tin Lizzy, Blue Orphanage. What was the prototype?
Orphanage. Yeah.
The Orphanage. The prototype of Lizzy.
Yeah.
That was him. He was there. He played with them all. But the thing again with Joe Staunton, Pat Kilty, Pat Fleming, they were all ornery Joe Soaps in the sense that me and you are, Brendan.
Yeah, of course, dubs.
They were dubs, and not. I know we're saying dubs, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
They were ordinary working people. They were, but they had great talent. But they they'd never run anyone down. The funny thing is that the only thing, as I said, out of all between Joe, Pat Kilty, Pat Fleming, the only thing that they'd run down would be the industry itself.
Oh yeah, no, it was crap. Still is. Come on, let's face it.
Would be the promoters and the owners now.
Speaking of Joe Staunton, I'll go back. Joe Staunton played with Carter O'Doherty in the Dazzle band.
Yeah.
A show band back in the day.
Yeah.
And he could do it all.
Yeah, of course he could.
He played. Who else did he play? He played with the Gentry.
Gentry, yeah.
He played with the bands he played with, but he could do everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I was talking about myself just for a minute, right?
Of course, Brendan, absolutely.
Back in 1979, the ill fated Stardust. I had a gig there with a 16-piece band, doing an Elvis Presley show. It was probably the first time that the Las Vegas type of thing going on.
Yeah, with the brass.
We'll be the 6-piece brass section in that band,
Yeah.
And who put it all together? Joe Staunton.
That's right.
He put the whole thing together. He knew every Elvis song you could think of.
He did, yeah.
And he had it down to a T.
Yeah.
He got all the big John L. Sullivan in there, Benny Rice, Carl Gerdefy, and he had all the brasses over there.
Yeah.
He had handy singers here, and the rhythm section, and he put it all together for me.
Yeah, he had a great musical brain.
Incredible. A
great musical brain.
And from Ballybuck.
Yep.
That's where he was from.
Fantastic musical brain. And he knew that. I remember he was doing a gig in Fitzsimon's years ago. It was a Sunday afternoon. And he was in with John Cairns on bass and Brian Downey on drums. And he says, I should drop in, he said to me one Friday, and he was doing it on the Sunday afternoon. And I dropped in and said, all right. is that all right? Because I had to bring my guitar because he was left-handed.
Yeah, of course.
I just hop up for a couple of numbers. Yeah. He says, he said, you have a Strat, haven't you? I said, I have, yeah. I said, no, that's grand. And it's that was just part of the kind of musical kind of thing. If you got a Strat, in other words, you're not going to turn up with a pile of shite. Do you know what I mean? Of a guitar.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to come up with something of quality, something to give to the table. And that's the way he was. Like Noel Keelan, who was the fella that used to do the orchestration for all the RTE orchestra and the Eurovision and all the rest of it. Joe Staunton had that brain. Mm-hmm. And I remember that you were saying that before, but he had another great skill with the just how the optics looked and how do you know what I mean? You're here, I'm here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And the optics in the pub as well.
Well, plenty of the optics.
Joe was the guy who gas man.
That shin scale in it.
Yeah.
No better man. And everything was great. Oh, the late night conversations were. But after myself and Joe Stanton were writing albums and we're going on tours to fucking Egypt and everything. And until the following morning, then you'd knock on the door and the sound of the light and star, and then you'd see it.
He always said it. He always like you wouldn't know when you met Joe, like as you said earlier. You wouldn't know. You wouldn't know he's a fucking bad humour and a good humour. He always had this kind of. Till someone told a joke, and that was it. He was off.
Then it would light up, and the cigarette, you see, and the tremble. There might be a bit of a tremble, you see. But
the jokes. Then once someone told a joke, he was off, wasn't he? That was it.
He came back from doing the tour with Bruce Shields. Bruce was over doing the thing over in Britain, England and Scotland and whatever he was doing over there. And Joe came back with his guitar, which is worth a fortune.
Oh, the 50s, the Les Paul,
Les Paul. And then he comes back at the early hours of the morning on the boat, the B&T or whatever, the Sea Link, whatever it was at the time.
B&I.
Yeah, the B&I, yeah. And he comes up the quays, and that's grand, and it's about, 7:30 in the morning. And he goes in to the, the Earl of Grattan. It was the Grattan, wasn't it? Yeah.
That's the one like Haber Street?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was an early house, must have been.
Yeah, he was an early house. He was in there and has a gargle. And off he goes. And then an hour later, was a knock on the door of the sound. He left the guitar behind.
Jesus Christ.
Forgot about
it. Oh, Jesus.
And it was, Jesus Christ. It was like the guitar. You see, when the guitar went down, that was it. As far as he was concerned, job over.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Whereas, it's funny though, every kind of guitarist has their own way of nursing the guitar and wiping the guitar and all this kind of thing, you know? Like Rory Gallagher was like fascinated by his guitar, you know, and that was the only guitar and all that kind of thing. But Joe Staunton could have played anything, Pat Kilty could have played anything, Pat Fleming could have played anything. And the whole thing came from, I genuinely do think it comes from an Irish spirit.
It's incredible. Let's just come on to this other guy here we have it in my head, which played with everybody. And you couldn't meet a nicer guy than Pat Horney.
Pat. Lord rest him.
Wasn't Pat something else, wasn't he? Another gem.
He was. Pat was a great player. Pat was, I think he was a school teacher, wasn't he?
He's a school teacher, yeah.
And
he was doing the anti-bullying thing there for years now.
He was.
Took it very serious.
He did. Yeah. And Pat was, I remember meeting Pat Force again down in Slattery's, and he was always well decked out again.
Always looked great. Always the hair was immaculate, you know.
Yeah, the hair.
Great bass player.
Oh, great. What a solid bass player. Solid as fuck. And he'd have the bass line down. And when there's the only other clever thing about him, and again, at the time, these are the times when I'd go upstairs to watch rather than sitting outside. What I wouldn't.
Had a few pop, is it?
I wouldn't. When I won the lotto that time, I wouldn't be watching the guitar players. I'd be watching the rhythm section.
Yeah.
I'd be watching Noel on drums, or whoever else would be on drums, and Pat Courtney or whoever else. Paul Bourne, by the way, is the
that's right,
bass player that's come back. But so I'd be watching them, and the bass and the way a solid bass player works. If a bass player, to me, if he moves too much, he's missing the groove. Mm-hmm. Pat Courtney didn't move too much.
No.
Because he had the groove solid.
Yeah, he was a good root man, you know, the root
man.
Yeah.
And then he knew the dynamics.
Yeah.
Like if somebody's going down, like the way Fadler or Pat Kilty go down, he knew not to blow the note out.
Yeah.
Just keep the volume down a bit. And I remember one night in up in the International.
That was a great spot, wasn't it?
Yeah, Paul McGuinness, remember Paul in the legendary Woods?
Yeah.
And Paul, I was doing a couple of gigs with Paul, and there was a misunderstanding. It was before mobile phone times, and I thought I was to do a gig with him, and I turned up my guitar and my amp, and then he had another fella in. He said, I was let down so many times. And Paul, another guy's character, he had the saxophone hanging around here and the piano here. So he was saying, that's grand. And Pat Courtney was on bass. And so that's because I had the amp there, and Pat was turned up then saying, he said he'd no amp. It was completely coincidence.
Yeah.
And I said, sure, look, go on, walk away. He says, are you sure? I says, walk away, so you might as well. There's no point in me hanging around here, like there's no gig in it, you know. We'll hang around for the first few songs and have a jar and walk away. He worked up, he treated the amp as if it was a little baby.
Yeah.
You know, he looked after it, and not only that, he was driving home and he dropped it up, because I wasn't driving, he dropped it up to me in Cabra the following day.
Yeah.
You know, and just a very caring, thoughtful man.
Yeah. Very much so. And very obliging.
Yeah.
He'd do anything for anybody.
And I'm sorry that I'm only sorry that I never got to see him in the few years before. Do you know what I mean? Like I would have saw Noel, Pat Kilty, Pat Fleming. I didn't. John Stoughton. I wouldn't have seen Pat
that much.
Yeah.
But he played with everybody. I remember he played with all the guys.
Oh, he did.
And he was a sought after bass player too.
Oh, he was.
You know, because of that reason.
He was. He was solid.
And he looked great.
Oh, he looked the part.
He looked brilliant.
Like, I mean, they could.
He was in a band called Sacred Blue. Back in the day, you know.
I think he did. Did he do a few gigs with Dickie Rock as well?
He did, with Charlie Herbert.
Yeah, and
That's right.
He'd be perfect for Dickie.
Yeah.
Because he'd be fucking solid.
Yeah.
There'd be no messing.
No messing, yeah.
There'd be no messing.
Yeah.
A solid groove. But he's a very interesting player, because he was able to swing from that to play the blues.
Play guitar player too, by the way.
Yeah, and it didn't sound. I'm going out to something slightly, but on top of bass players. I remember doing a few gigs up in Ballyshannon for the festival there a few years ago, and going back to Yanningham Arms was the hotel they put you up in, you know. And you go back to Residence Bar was a tiny, narrow little place where you just literally knock on the door. And there was a lad from Belfast was the barman, and I got to know him, a nice fella, and his name will come to me. But you know, just go like that, and I was pulling my guitar in out of the van, just put it into the overnight, and there was a fella watching me, and he waved me, and then he sees me at the bar later, and he says, "Where you were playing tonight?" I said, "Oh," he says, "Yeah. Now this hotel is full. It's jammers." Declan Nerney was on jammers, and then this I says, I was playing bass player. He says, "Oh jeez, I'd love to be playing this. Where are we?" I says, "Up in Ballyshannon, Owen Rose." He says, "And what did you get?" Whatever. 350 quid between the three of us. We were baiting out the taste numbers all night, you know.
Yeah.
And he says, "Well, I feel ashamed." He says, "Because I got double what you got, just for me."
Yeah.
And I'm playing soul destroying music. And I don't. All he's playing is G C D. Dun, 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 dun. Pretty little girl from Moma and the county after and decked and there. He was a terrible nice fella. No, I'm not saying that. But I just remember sitting there. I had a jar and I bought my jar and he bought me one back. What did he say his name was? Wasn't Pat Fortune. He was another player, bass player. I don't know, doesn't matter. Anyway. But it was gas because there we were, the two of us. Doesn't matter. After a gig, you're all equal. It's like going to the toilet. Do you know what I mean, Brendan? Right. Like you're all equal. It doesn't matter. And your man was saying he was there to do a 2-hour gig. We did a 3-hour gig. He says only does a little triangle between Donegal, Sligo, Fermanagh, and then just that little bit there, and that's it.
Has its own little sauce.
Has its own little sauce. But Pat Courtney, come back to Pat. Pat would have fitted into that gig like that.
Do anything.
And if he was asked within 10 minutes to do a gig, he'd have done it.
Yeah.
Because he was one of them fellas that'd be solid.
Yes.
Because there'd be some fellas that'd be trying to go like that. You know yourself, if you're looking for a bass player or a drummer and you have to break them in, so to speak. And they'd be trying to get the sus on.
The numbers, whatever, I'd be in.
He'd have it nailed. The school teacher.
Give the key and there he goes, you know.
John Querney is the same way.
John was great. John's a great bass player, you know, as well. Jesus.
The Willie Dixon of Ireland.
Yeah, Johnny's great, you know. Like Johnny Querney played with everybody as well.
He
Another
did.
one, you know, Big Jim Fardy.
He did,
He goes back, you know.
He goes
great working class players, you know.
What's like Alan Thunder?
Alan Thunder. We're going to come to the drummers now in a minute.
Oh, go on, go on,
So we just finished with Pat Courtney just for a second, right? But again, with Pat Courtney, the likes of Johnny Querney, these bass players were just on the scene all the time, weren't they? Really?
They were like, and a bass player, like, you know, they're just solid.
You just had that lovely, they just kept everything together.
Yeah, it's like a calming thing. It's like coming in to see the holy water fountain in their front door or something. Do you know what I mean? It's just like that you have this fella that you know that has your back. A drummer has your back, and then when the drummer and the bass player works together.
Oh, Jesus. It's like a clock in it.
Heaven.
Brilliant.
Heaven.
Anyway.
You're into heaven.
So we're going to come to... let's talk about drummers now. So I'm going to mention a few names here. Like, I'm going to say Noel Bridgeman for one.
Yeah.
You know, with Brian Downey, of course.
Yeah.
With who else? With Timmy Creedon.
Yeah.
I remember Timmy.
Yeah.
Timmy was a great man.
Yeah.
And who else have we got? Dave Gaynor.
Oh, Dave.
Remember, Dave Gaynor? They were all great drummers. And Fran Bourne was another one. And of course, Fran Bourne just played with. Remember Ace?
Ace, that's right.
Yeah, big hit with that. These are all great. And then we have, of course, Alan Thunder.
Yeah, Alan.
So let's talk about a few of these guys here.
Yeah, we'll go. If you don't mind, Brendan, I'll start with Alan Thunder because I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Alan was a great. He was a great friend of mine.
Yeah, sure.
We never got to do a gig together, and we never got to do a gig together because Alan had been very ill. He had cirrhosis of the liver, and he was anointed twice down the Mater Hospital.
Yes.
And when he got back out, he wasn't up to playing gigs. And I was trying to get him to.
Yeah.
Like Alan played in the Movement.
The Movement, that's right. Yeah.
Back in the 1960s with Pat Quigley and bass, John Fardell, another Fardell, another great singer, and all them lads. And he went into the sort of cabaret thing, the Joe Cuddy thing, and all that stuff. He never quite shot off the right where he should have. And I think there's one of those books written on Irish rock groups. Oh, I can't think of the name, but it was a Spotlight edition from 1968. Where they went through this kind of top sort of 20 performers, and a number 15, Alan Thunder, the Movement.
Yeah.
And for a drummer, because drummers don't usually get it's usually the front man, the guitarist or the vocalist, usually.
Yeah.
You know, and the drummers tend not to. But he was just a unique individual that he brought himself back. And he used to go into Kennedy's pub in Cabra West to drink it. He used to go in at 5 o'clock every afternoon, and then he'd go in back again at closing time. Now, he was off the drink. He gave up the drink completely. But he used to love the crack of walking into the pub. And he said, right, when I was drinking because there was some kind of headspace problem, whatever. But I also liked the crack. So he said, why should I not have the crack?
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it'd be very hard to get to not have the crack.
So he used to go in and he used to wind people up, you know. I remember one night he went in, there was a fella called Jimmy Smith, from Things, used to go in every night at around about 11:10. Used to drive down from Finglas. And and then the barman behind it, John, would say, well, Jimmy, many pints, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, go like that from, you know. And 2, what time were you? 2. And he go down, then thunder would distract him, you know. And I remember one night there was his, Smith fucking takes a good guzzle out of a pint, and then there's another 2 pints in front of him. He says, James, Jimmy, you're doing well there, you have a nest of points in front of you. Yeah, no, and I was saying about that Thatcher one, I don't drink another guzzle out of that. And I'll tell you another, Jim, what was that? And Smith takes another guzzle out of it, like that, and Thunder's winking at me.
Yeah.
And he says, Jesus, Jimmy, you were going great there a minute ago, you had 3 points, now you've only 1.
Yeah.
You know, oh, hey, John. He was a great outstorer upper, but to his technical capabilities, he was some drummer.
Yeah, he was great.
And you listen back to those old movement recordings. He was a great groove. I remember he was called around, he lived in 69 Dingle Road, Cabra West. He was called around from literally around the corner, 3-minute walk. And he used to have to stand and wait for him to stop drumming, because he'd be drumming in the upstairs room, the bedroom. I'd have to wait for him to stop drumming, so as I could bang on the knocker. He hadn't a doorbell, so as you'd hear me to come down. But he played with all the greats. He knew all the greats. Played with Rory, played with Philo. He knew Phil in it used to call up to him when he was getting bass lessons off the brush. They see on his way to Brendan. That's how Alan's expression was. You see his way to Brendan. So there's the little young fella there with the candlesticks coming out of his nose. Alan was, he had that sort of rock star kind of thing. But again, he had, like the rest of the
You look great.
You say about the makeup. Remember you were saying
I remember wearing the makeup,
you know.
It was the very first bloke I ever seen ever wearing makeup, you know. And the jet black hair, like red black, you know. And
he didn't dye it.
No.
He didn't dye it. And his hair, and the boots. I said the boots and the skinny jeans, you know. I went around to him one time. I got a few gigs down the jazz festival down in Cork. And I had a bass player lined up, and I says to Alan, I says, look, I says, are you on for doing this? I says, there's 3 or 4 gigs down there, the accommodation down there, and all the rest. It's just a bit of crack. His mother was from Crosshaven, lovely place, and we used to go down there. We went down a couple of times with Alan. He liked fishing. He's sitting down there and fishing and that. And so called around him. And I brought the acoustic around and I said, we'll just break down a few numbers, you know, a few of the Gallagher numbers and a few blues numbers. And he says, look, I'm after finding this. I had this some years ago. It's a bottle of wine. He says, sure, have a glass of that. Nice, that's sure. Go on, fuck it again. And there he is on the kit, and he's kind of chewing you know, tightening up the skins and that. And then, no, what we do, I blew your one. Look, we'll take it easy, nice and easy. Have another glass of that. And have another glass of that. And then the bottle was gone. And that was grand. I wasn't pissed. I can hold me drink. He turned around and said, I'll be honest with you, I can't do the gig. I'm not able to. I just can't feel it do it, but I just thought that might take the edge off for you. You know? And I says, well, look, there you go. You're grand. Don't be worrying. But Alan, in fact, Alan had said to me, I remember he came out of hospital which was around about 91, 92. And he was trying to go back. Then he did a load of gigs with the jukebox.
Okay.
The man, there was that.
Yeah.
I can't think of your man's name. The singer did have load. He said, but again, it was like just doing. It wasn't doing the music he wanted to do, but there you go.
Yeah.
And he said, "You might go to Noel Bridgeman." He says for some lessons.
Noel, everyone went to Noel.
Yeah.
You know, Noel was very well respected.
Noel was.
Let's talk about Noel for a while.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
Noel was a drummer's drummer,
wasn't he? Yeah.
and I sent Audrey Bridgeman a message there. I wrote a poem for Noel. Again, like Pat Fleming, dabbled a bit of poems. And wild garlic. God, I remember him sitting out the back of his shed. He had the shed down
that's
the back.
right. Yeah, every day he'd be in there.
And that's where he had the cassette open, the
Practice
Fleetwood
every day.
Mac. Yeah, and the Fleetwood Mac post room.
Yeah.
There was a load of lovely wild garlic
Yeah, that's right.
grown there. And I remember getting there and eating it, lovely. And I was saying to Audrey, I said, you know what? I sent her the poem. Rose says, well, Noel Bridgeman, what you saw was what you got. And he fucking hated bullshit.
He was straight, he just shot in the hip and that was it. You know?
Don't bullshit that, man.
No.
Simple as that.
No, yeah, he was great.
Now, the others we've all spoke about would kind of, say, would they dance around it?
Yeah.
But Noel would not take shite.
Yeah, he took his profession very, very serious. Very serious. He worked very hard.
The man worked, and you know what? When you listen back to it, I was only listening there the other day. Like Skid Row were a great band,
Incredible.
On Co-op Show Band Blues.
Yeah.
Listen to that, and listen to Noel's drummings in there. Got me a job on the show now. And it's him all over with the hair and the whole lot.
Yeah.
But it just an instinctive drummer, and I love doing gigs with him. Anytime I did gigs with him and John Kearney, it was just it was great. I remember John paid a great compliment to me. He says, Noel loves you. He says he loves doing the gigs with you.
He loves the raw thing, the raw feel.
It was fucking raw because there'll be no...
Yeah.
And we do the little rehearsal.
Yeah.
In fact, not even a rehearsal, breaking down. Spending more time yapping, Brendan, the way we are now, than a rehearsal.
Yeah.
And he didn't suffer fools, but a very nice man. Mm-hmm. And I know you played golf with him. Let me reverse this. What was it like playing golf?
Look at... I've known Noel like most of my life, and anything that Noel ever done, he just took it very, very serious. He took it to the extreme of I want to master this. He just got into it with passion.
Tell me the one about the golf club.
But even the golf, he was a brilliant golfer. Yeah. There was no two ways about it. The guy had a great talent for playing golf. I learned so much off him. He used to kind of like, he'd show you things, and but he kind of almost made you remember them,
Yeah. Don't remember what he told you the last time.
You remember, up in the air,
It's similar to his drumming technique.
Same thing, that thing, But he'd be always down the golfing range. It's like the drums. He'd be in the shed every day. He'd practice in the shed every day. Yeah, the drums every day.
Every day.
Well, I know that.
Yeah.
And the same thing. He'd be any other bit of time you have. He'd be on the golfing. He'd be down the golfing range.
Yeah.
Perfecting this swing. He'd a lovely swing. But one day I went out there anyway. I remember, and we had bad fucking days too. And he did this drive, and the drive skewed off to the left. He could have hooked it,
Yeah.
And he hit this tree, and the ball came back to where he was.
Oh, fuck.
Fucking club.
Oh, Jesus.
The driver went, fuck this, and he got the club and he fucking smashed it off this tree. You know? And I was going, no, Jesus, no, fuck it, Jesus. The amount of work I'm putting into this fucking game, this fucking doing me fucking Oh, it was incredible. You know?
Brilliant.
You know, and you got
and I could see the big red face.
The fucking club was like bleeding that, you know. You know. And another time I was playing, he took out a pitching match and he was pitching it over this lake to get onto the green. And he just nearly, the fucking club, he hit it, the ball, right? And the ball went over like that, you know. And it just about 2 inches. That's all he missed, boy. And he hit the top of the rock and the ball went back into the ball. And he fucked the club into the water after the ball. You know. And I said, no, for Christ's sake. He said, fuck that, he said, you know. You know what I mean? Bleeding club, you know, I should have used the bleeding, I should have used the 9-iron, I went bleeding, gentle 9-iron would have got me over there, you know.
No, but
I said, you know what I said to him? I said to him, well, I'm going to come in and get that club, and I get that club, I'm fucking keeping it. He said, you can fucking have it then, you know. So I went in and I got it. You know, and I put it in your bag. I give it back to you, man.
But you know, of course. But you know the beauty of that is that it's I can understand that, right? Because it's and I remember I done it many times. I nearly broke my guitar, didn't.
Yeah.
But you know, you'd be getting frustrated with yourself.
Yeah, of course.
And as a musician, you know, you'll be getting to a certain level, and you get annoyed with yourself.
Yeah.
And the anger has to come out somewhere. And for Noel, he baked the drums, right? And a lot of drummers have not anger.
Noel wore his heart on his sleeve.
He wore the heart on the sleeve.
And that was the way you got it, as you said earlier.
Yeah.
That's the way he was, and you got that's the way you got it, you know.
And yes, and
you knew you stood.
And if he was pissed off, let him fuck the stick into it. I wouldn't be going there
no.
Because he'd be no, not that he'd hit you or anything.
Not at all.
But like that's it's. That's the kind of that's the inner essence to me of an artist.
Oh, yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
And don't forget, Noel Bridgeman, All Ireland accordion champion.
That's right.
Or sorry, box champion.
That's right. Was it? And that was accordion.
Accordion. Was it accordion? Was yeah. And not an awful lot of people know that.
Yeah.
And
that's right. Yeah.
Again, just how this is the honesty. This was the man I never had a bad
great rhythm player.
Oh, great!
You know, he played a very.
He had a lovely guitar.
He played like almost the rhythms are like just like the congas. He played it.
He had a lovely Telecaster.
Yeah, that's right. I was saying that. I remember he won that on raffle, didn't he?
Yeah, he had a lovely Telecaster. And I went out one day and he had a lovely amp.
It was pre-CBS, that was.
Yeah, and he had a lovely little amp, a little H&H. And we'd be going out breaking down numbers, myself and John. It didn't bother me with the stars, and I just plugged straight through, and that's it. And he used to go, I used to see him laugh and smiling, where you'd be doing this sort of caress me baby, something like that, you know.
Yeah.
Caress me baby. And I was doing the, up and down like a ska kind of a thing, you know. And I could see him smiling at John, you know.
Yeah.
As that the groove is gone. I used to say, hold it back. Everything was pull everything back. But then he'd go pell-mell in the middle.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like you were saying, in other words, let me control the rhythm.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
You know, it's a bit like, what's that psychological thing where you put an idea into someone's head and let them say it to you then after, and then they think that they come up with it themselves.
Oh, right, okay.
Do you know what I mean? Well, sorry, he had that kind of, he was saying, we'll keep it, we'll pull it right back, not be looking at John, and he'd be kind of...
Almost days
it would go up a bit.
Yeah.
But just classic. I remember when.
But the amount of drummers that had respect for him, like Timmy Creedon was another great drummer.
Timmy, I didn't know that well.
Yeah, but Timmy would have been the orphanage drummer as well.
Yeah.
Timmy played with he played with the Miami for a while as well.
Yeah.
Too. But Timmy played with everybody as well.
He did.
But a great rock drummer.
Timmy I met once down in Slattery's, and it was Alan Thunder introduced me to him. And I only had a brief encounter, and after that, but Timmy Creedon did what I know of all the drummers and what I know of all the people known. Again, no bad words.
Not at all. A lovely guy.
No bad words. Yeah. And there's some, and he'd be a sound fella, and a fella like that. If he was, if like with all the great drummers, if somebody needed a recommendation, he'd be a great dep. And be all dep for what you know for one another.
He was a great friend of Brian Downey. So
absolutely,
they all were very close. All them guys, you know. Like Dave Gaynor is another one, you know.
Dave Gaynor again. I didn't know him that well, but
Dave again played with like the dual drummer in with Bruce Shields at that time.
That's right. And the great and he was a great Dave. I seen him. Once out at a jazz gig. He was a great jazz drummer as well, Dave Gaynor.
Dave could play anything.
He could play anything, and he was, and it's a very.
But he was a rock drummer.
He was a rock drummer,
that was
really.
His thing, yeah.
But I remember seeing him out with Dave Fleming and on the band and a few of them heads. He was a rock drummer at bass, but like if you and that's the great skill that Noel had as well. That were able to, like
very versatile,
like John Wadham, Lord rest him. John Wadham was I said, he was a complete jazz man. But versatile, and to get a versatile drummer, like you know, because sometimes it can be just stiff with the 4/4. Like you can do 4/4s, you know, in the right way. Or you can do it in the static way. You know, but as you say, Dave Gaynor and them fellas, Timmy Creedon were able to. They could. Because you have a string section, in other words, like a bass player and a drummer normally in their situations, and you have other players, you have a vocalist and a sax and whatever, and that's the plank we're walking on after all. Do you know what I mean? Like you as a talented builder knows that the foundations need to go in.
And
if that foundation is not there, you're not building the house.
That's right,
And so that's what your bass players and drummers are. But Brian Downey is the same. Brian Downey and Paul Moore. And Paul is, as you know, musical director for Van Morrison and bass player for Van Morrison. And I did a good few gigs with them, two of them, and that was, I'd say, the most professional setup that I did. But there was no pressure. And there was no pressure because everybody treated it professionally. And there can be a danger, and this is the thing, Brendan, I always think, if there'll be young fellas, you know, ask me, or their dads ask me, the young fella wants to play music, whatever, I'd be saying, right, learn your craft first, you know, get your chops together, know who the heads are, go around the gigs, do all that stuff, like we did, you know, cut your teeth. Cut your teeth, in other words, and go around and do all that. And then when you fall in with company of fellas of a calibre that has a different profile to you, but they'll gig with you, which shows that they have respect for you.
That's right.
Then you know that they're going to expect from you
it's like
a professionalism.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying about like all them drummers would have respected. Do you remember Jimmy Doyle? Did you know?
Yes, I did.
Jimmy Doyle would have been an original big band type of drummer.
With a big old bass drum.
Back in the 50s.
You
know, type of thing. You know?
Yeah.
But like the likes of Brian Downey, Timmy Creedon, Noel Bridgeman, you know, like all them drummers had so much great respect for Jimmy Doyle.
Of course.
Because he used to go to Jimmy, and because Jimmy played all, he would have played all over Europe and with the big bands, and he had all these kind of different. I remember Noel telling me he had all these different rudiments, and like he was showing them a bit with coat hangers. You know? The boys just always go to him, you know. He was another guy that was sadly missed as well. You know?
Of course. There was an old I got out skin McHugh from Carber West from Fossa Road, and Mick played the banjo, and the man and that, you know, good as guy. He's long dead now, but he had this lovely photograph of Jimmy Doyle that was taken outside the hotel, one of the hotels down Glasnevin, up the little red brick, you know, and the bass drum was unreal, you know, and just saying, at that time, this is going back 30 odd years ago, and it just the respect that the man was held in, and it was like, you know the way, like you have a trade, like you have a family business, we say, let's say like a stonemason, or do you know what I mean, an art or whatever, a craft, And you have a family trade and that.
Yeah.
And that's, I always think drummers kind of in particular have that sort of thing in them.
Yeah.
And they can see that in another way. And they can hear a different thing. Strings, okay, we'll be picking up a guitar, we're playing strings.
Well, just an example of that, like there's a guy I'm playing with at the moment called Norman Teeling.
Norman,
Norman Teeling, this guy, like, I have never met anyone like him in my life for the talent.
Yeah.
That he records.
Cards.
It's like, as an artist, an artist painter.
That's right.
He's world famous.
Yeah.
Like for his paintings that he done, the centenary, all the GP, all after 1916.
That's right. Yeah.
Like incredible. He's an amazing jazz guitarist.
Yeah.
Amazing blues guitar player. He's an amazing harmonica player.
Yeah.
He plays pedal steel. He plays flute.
Yeah.
You know, and he just does it at ease.
Inner City Blues. Remember that album? That was the album. I remember getting the LP of that.
Yeah. Well, actually, we're recording that.
Yeah, it's a great album.
Brilliant. You know,
brilliant album. Norman is the same, and Norman is one of those fellas that's just
incredible.
And there's no blowing or bragging.
Not at all. No, lovely guy.
But getting back to Brian Downey and to Paul Moore, I remember I said that Brian said, look, I have a few gigs. I'm doing a few gigs. Yeah, I'm doing a few gigs, you know. So I just want to just pull back and just go straight into just a blues, straight blues set. And he says, I'm glad. He says, I'm up for that. He says, but I want the right bass player. Right? And I said, okay, right, fair enough. Now, Brian is a great bloke, but he's direct.
Yeah.
He's professional.
Yeah.
So, I says, right, okay, leave it with me. And Lord rest him, Spanner, who did the door down on J.J. Smith's, died a couple of years back. I said, I'm waiting for the right drummer now for Brian, the right bass player for Brian, before we do these couple of gigs. And he says, leave it with me. And he said, this name, that name, whatever. And he said, look, here, try Paul Moore. And I knew Paul, but I'd forgotten that. Like, wasn't going to approach him because I thought he would have been busy with Van or whatever. So that was it. Paul says, yeah, I'm up for it. And then I rang Downey and I said, look, I have a bass player. He says, who is he now? And I says, right, okay, he plays with this fella, he's a baldy old fucker, old Belfast. But look, it might be, I don't know, look, we'll see if there's any good fella called Paul Moore. And he wrote a straight laugh and says, that fan's fella. And I said, yeah, there you go. I said, now, can I get any better for you? Yeah. And we'd a lovely few gigs in JJ's and a few little festivals we did around. And what I love about Brian is that he's tense at the start.
Yeah.
But then when all the ducks are in a row, he's great. And then he says, no, I'm not having a drink. At the end of the night then, he'd have a few jars and not getting pissed, but just like... I think it's all the adrenaline. Yeah. Do you know what I mean, Brendan?
Yeah.
Like, I think all musicians have that. I think we all have this sort of, I don't know how to pronounce the word, you know, that rush, the end of for, or whatever it ever called, the psychological rush to the brain.
Yeah.
You know, with the end of whatever, there's a scientific term. In other words, that you kind of get it all out of your system.
Yeah.
But you're all running together.
Adrenaline, I suppose, is the word.
Adrenaline, endorphins or whatever the word is.
Morphines?
It's something like that. I don't know what. No, it is. It's a neurotical thing. Yeah. And but with Brian and Paul there, you know, and Brian just there's not a note wrong, you know, there's not a beat wrong, you know, everything just brilliant. But all those over there. Kevin Malone is another great drummer as well. Kevin is another great skin. Quite literally. And Artie Lurgan. Yeah. Don't know if you know Art, do you? Art, I don't know. Art played with Sleepy Hollow. Right. Back in the 70s.
I remember the band, all right.
Yeah, and he played. They did all the support gigs for Rory Gallagher in the mid 70s.
Do you remember Ditch? Do you?
Ditch.
Well, we're going to finish on Ditch, right?
Jesus, Ditch.
Yeah, we'll let Ditch finish it here. It was great.
Ditch Cassidy. Ditch.
Wasn't he?
Fucking brilliant.
Wasn't he great?
This
I mean, the guy was like, before his time, I always thought, you know, like, how was he not world famous?
Now, I don't know how true this is, and I don't know if I'm talking out of school, but I say it anyway, that he went over to Decca Records in 1973.
Yeah.
And so did Tin Lizzy,
Yeah.
and that he was to be the kind of the front man sort of thing,
Yeah.
but then it was Lizzy were signed rather than him.
That's right. That's true.
Is that true?
True story.
Yeah.
I remember Eric Bell telling me that story.
And I remember Dick saying that, you know. But that's I'm glad that's verified. That's true.
That's a true story. And there was more to it than that. Like,
possibly,
like we were on. I'd just like to say to everybody, all things Irish and rock and roll is. It's on my YouTube, of course, you know. And if you feel like watching any of these little small documentaries that we've done, they're all there under. Well, just type in Brendan Finglas, and you'll see them all there. I have all these guys all recorded from before, and it's very worth a viewing them. And just leave a little comments here and there if you can. I appreciate that. Anyway, I'm going to finish off and thank Dave McHugh for coming in today. For all things Irish and rock and roll, Dave, you've been a gentleman, and thanks very much for those stories. Absolutely fantastic.
You're a gentleman, yeah. Scholar, and I hope I haven't bored you, and I hope I haven't bored the viewers.
Not at all. It's absolutely fun. I really enjoyed it. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Brendan.
Thank you.
Got a key to the highway, build out and bound to go. I'm gonna leave here running, walking is much too slow. I'm going back to the border. Whoa, my little bed unknown. You know you haven't done nothing. You drove a good man away from home.